Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here today as we have this very important discussion. Last week, and this has been in the context of a number of hearings that we've had to sort of discuss this global situation that we have to deal with and deal with appropriately and successfully. And last week, this committee had the opportunity to hear from General Petraeus and John McLaughlin about some of the pressing threats and challenges facing our nation. And in their testimony, I was struck by the focus they both placed on the shifting global balance of power and the need for the United States to maintain its technological superiority in relation to both Russia and China. And just last week, the New York Times reported on Chinese advances in computer science and engineering in relation to declining U.S. investments in these areas. Historically, our nation's national labs and our FFRDCs have led the way in advancing new technology for our nation's military. But today, private firms, many located overseas, are increasingly taking the lead, making investments in those technologies that have both consumer and military applications, so they see a dual benefit to it. And robotics and artificial intelligence are just two examples of where the private sector has been increasingly successful. So as we're talking today about the many challenges we face, and much of the emphasis is on end strength and the need for more people, it seems to me that as we're thinking about how we maintain our competitive advantage, that it's not just about end strength, but it's about how we use cutting-edge technologies to leverage fiscally thoughtful investments, whether they be in people or other areas. And so to that end, General Wilson, and this certainly comes as I am a representative from Massachusetts, we have great labs and FFRDCs in our state that have done such great work. What is the Air Force doing to modernize its labs and defense-focused FFRDCs to make sure that we are able to keep the Air Force at the cutting edge of technology? And how much of a priority is it for you, given the many competing demands for investment?
Yes, Congresswoman, we have investments going into MIT Lincoln Labs to help improve the infrastructure there. I've been out to visit them, and I can tell you they are absolutely world-class. And there's some technologies that they're working on. You mentioned AI and robotics. They're also working on directed energy, some things that can truly change the game. So that's an important focus of our Air Force. As we modernize our force, we need to modernize smartly across the specific areas. And as you mentioned, industry in many areas is leading us in that way. So we're collaborating with industry, whether we work with folks like DARPA, our Air Force Research Lab, with this Strategic Capabilities Office, Dr. Roper and his team, all the FFRDCs and all the national labs that also are reaching out with all the private sector to make sure that we can stay up to date with them. I look at this as almost like the the FSRM, Facilities Restoration Modernization Accounts. We have to invest so much today in our technology that's going to get us to tomorrow. Right now, our R&D is about 2%. We need to keep it at that or even grow that, because otherwise our adversaries will outpace us. But we have a great collaboration with all the national labs. They're truly national treasures. We need to leverage those to help us stay ahead of all of our adversaries going forward.
Well, and those national treasures don't remain national treasures without the significant investment that needs to be made in them. And I know, given the constrained resources, I just want to be reassured that we aren't short-sighted, and that we're not putting in making those tough choices, we're not putting what we need to, because technology has a long timeline, and yet it also can move very quickly. And we don't want to be behind the 8 ball because we've just been too short-sighted in some of our near-term investments. And so to that end, also, General Allen, I wanted to ask you how you're prioritizing your investments. Again, Massachusetts has a great facility that really focuses on the soldier and how to best protect the soldier to make them as ready as possible, but again, fully equipped and thinking thoughtfully what kind of investments the Army is making.
Well, thank you, Congresswoman, and I'm sorry you're missing the championship parade in Boston this morning.
I'm very sorry myself.
That's a great sacrifice on your part, but We likewise fully leverage not only Natick Labs, as you've highlighted, but also MIT Lincoln Labs. I have been there in the last 2 months on several programs that are critical to us to be able to continue to dominate in the multi-domain environment of the future. And we will continue to leverage both the great soldier enhancement initiatives that come from Natick, as well as the technology that is critical. You highlighted the importance of technology to readiness. It is the right balance of capability and capacity that makes a ready force, and all of us are trying to ensure that we maintain that balance as we move forward, ma'am.
Thank you. I yield back.